I always believed love was something you cultivate, something that grows stronger over time if you nurture it. For the past decade, I lived by that belief, building my marriage with patience and devotion. My wife, Meredith, was my everything. Beautiful in that quiet, understated way. Soft brown eyes, a gentle smile that used to make my pulse quicken, a voice that felt like home. I built my world around her, convinced we were partners, a team against whatever life threw at us. But it only took one night, one overheard conversation to shatter it all. That evening started like any other. I came home from work later than usual, exhausted but eager to see her. The house smelled like lavender and warm vanilla, her favorite candles. I kicked off my shoes, loosened my tie, and was about to call out when I heard her voice drifting from the living room. At first, I thought she was on the phone with a friend. Her tone was light, casual. Then I heard my name. Tobias just doesn't get it. I can't stand him anymore. I froze. My body turned to ice. Every little thing he does annoys me. He's so predictable, so dull. I feel like I'm suffocating. The words hit me like a sledgehammer. My heart pounded in my ears, drowning out whatever came next. I wanted to believe I'd misheard, that it was a joke, some misunderstanding. But there was no mistaking the frustration in her voice, the exhaustion of a truth held back too long. I should have walked in, should have confronted her, demanded to know what she meant. But I didn't. I stayed in the hallway, hidden in the shadows, gripping the doorframe like it could hold me together. Then her voice dropped lower, and what she said next shattered me completely. I haven't loved him in years. I don't know how to leave. He's comfortable, reliable, but I don't want reliable. My chest tightened. For a second, I forgot how to breathe. The love of my life, the woman I'd spent a decade devoted to, saw me as a burden, a cage. I don't know how long I stood there, drowning in those words. Part of me wanted to barge in, make her see the pain she'd just inflicted. Another part wanted to disappear, to erase the last 10 years and pretend I'd never heard any of it. But what I did next was something I never thought I'd have the strength to do. I turned around, walked to our bedroom, grabbed a duffel bag from the closet. My hands shook as I stuffed clothes inside, enough for a few days, maybe a week. My mind was blank, my body moving on autopilot. As I zipped the bag, I caught a glimpse of our wedding photo on the dresser. Meredith was beaming, arms wrapped around me, eyes full of love and promise. I stared at it and felt like a fool. Had it all been a lie? Had she been waiting for an excuse to leave this entire time? I clenched my jaw, tore my gaze away, and walked back down the hallway. Then I heard her laugh, light, careless, like she hadn't just ripped my heart out. I stood there for a second, gripping the duffel bag. Then I stepped into the room. She was on the couch, phone pressed to her ear, smiling. That smile died the second she saw me standing there, bag in hand. Tobias? She blinked, confusion flickering across her face. What are you doing? I didn't answer right away. I just let the silence stretch, watching as she shifted uncomfortably under my gaze. I wanted to see it. That moment when she realized I'd heard everything, when the walls she'd built around her double life crumbled, and then I said the only thing that felt right. The cold night air hit me as I stepped outside, but I barely felt it. My mind was a blur, heartbeat pounding in my ears. I climbed into my car, gripping the steering wheel so tight my knuckles turned white. A shaky breath escaped me, but it did nothing to steady the storm inside. Meredith's words played on a loop in my head. I haven't loved him in years. I don't know how to leave. I should have been furious, but all I felt was a hollow emptiness, the kind that settles deep in your bones and makes you question everything. 10 years. Gone. I'd spent a decade loving a woman who saw me as nothing more than a safe choice. And the worst part? I never saw it coming. Not once. I stared at the road ahead, vision blurring. I couldn't go to a friend's place. Most of our friends were mutual. The last thing I wanted was to explain why I was showing up at their door in the middle of the night with a duffel bag. My parents lived states away. I clenched my jaw, swallowing the lump in my throat. I wanted to believe this was salvageable, that maybe it was just frustration talking. But those words weren't spoken in anger. They were spoken in truth. I'd already lost her. I just hadn't realized it until now. A hotel? That would make this too real. And I wasn't ready for that. So without thinking, I started driving. The streets were empty. Streetlights cast long, ghostly shadows over the pavement. My hands tightened around the wheel as I replayed every moment of our marriage, searching for the cracks I'd been too blind to see. The way Meredith had slowly stopped reaching for my hand. The way she sighed when I talked about my day. The way she'd started spending more time on her phone, smiling at texts I wasn't part of. Had she been waiting for me to leave all along? I pulled into an empty parking lot near the waterfront, chest heaving. The waves crashed against the shore in the distance, steady, rhythmic. A sharp contrast to the chaos inside me. I turned off the engine, resting my forehead against the steering wheel. For the first time since hearing those words, I let myself feel it. The betrayal, the heartbreak, the humiliation of knowing my wife had been pretending for years. A sudden vibration jolted me from my thoughts. My phone lit up in the darkness. Meredith. For a long moment, I just stared at the screen. Then, against my better judgment, I answered, "Tobias?" Her voice was hesitant, unsure. "Where are you?" I didn't respond. The silence between us stretched, heavy and suffocating. She exhaled sharply. "Look, I don't know what's going on, but I heard you." My voice was steady, despite the storm inside me. I heard everything. A pause. Then softer. "What?" "I heard you, Meredith." The silence on the other end was deafening. She hesitated. "Tobias, I didn't mean, don't lie to me." Her breath hitched. Another silence. Then finally, "Where are you?" I could have told her, could have given her the chance to explain, to beg for forgiveness, but I didn't want to hear it. So I hung up. And for the first time in years, I let myself accept the truth. I'd spent a decade loving a woman who didn't love me back. And I wasn't going to waste another second. I didn't sleep that night. After hanging up on Meredith, I just sat in my car, staring at the dark ocean stretching endlessly ahead. The waves crashed against the shore, steady, relentless, oblivious to the wreckage inside me. My hands still gripped the steering wheel, knuckles white. My body was rigid, like I was bracing for impact, even though the collision had already happened. At some point, I checked my phone again. 8 missed calls, 3 texts. The first was short. "Where are you?" The second, more desperate. "Tobias, come home. We need to talk." The third one made my stomach turn. "You're being dramatic. Let's be adults about this." Dramatic. I let out a bitter laugh, shaking my head. My wife had just admitted she hadn't loved me in years, and I was the one being dramatic. She'd reduced our entire marriage to something inconvenient, and now she wanted to talk like it was just a misunderstanding. I threw my phone onto the passenger seat, rubbing my hands over my face. Exhaustion crept in, but sleep was impossible. My body ran on adrenaline and heartbreak, my mind replaying every warning sign I'd ignored. I'd been blind. And yet, despite everything, I felt a strange, numb calm, like the worst had already happened, and now there was nothing left but to accept it. As dawn crept over the horizon, I started the car again. I couldn't sit here forever. I didn't know my next move, but I knew one thing. I wasn't going home. Instead, I drove. No destination in mind, just the road stretching ahead, putting miles between me and the life I no longer recognized. Empty streets blurred past. The world woke up around me, completely unaware that mine had just collapsed. It wasn't until my stomach growled that I pulled into a rundown diner on the outskirts of town. The kind of place I'd normally never stop. Flickering neon sign, half-empty lot, the smell of grease and coffee thick in the air. But right now, I just needed somewhere to sit, somewhere to breathe. I walked in and took a seat at the counter, my body heavy with exhaustion. A waitress appeared, middle-aged, tired eyes, kind smile. She poured me coffee without asking, like she could tell just by looking at me that I needed it. "Rough night?" she asked, raising an eyebrow. I let out a breathless laugh. "You could say that." She didn't pry, just slid a menu toward me and walked away. I appreciated that. The last thing I wanted was to explain myself to a stranger when I barely understood what I was feeling. I sat there, staring at the menu without seeing it. The world around me felt distant, like I was watching it through a screen. The chatter of other customers, the clink of silverware, the hum of an old radio playing some forgotten song. All of it normal, like nothing had changed, even though my world had shattered hours ago. My phone buzzed again. Another text. "Meredith. Tobias, please, at least let me explain." Explain what? That she'd been pretending for years? That every "I love you" had been a lie? That she'd stayed out of convenience, not love? I gritted my teeth and shoved my phone back into my pocket. I wasn't ready for her excuses. Not yet. Maybe not ever. The waitress returned, sliding a plate of pancakes in front of me without asking. She studied my face for half a second before walking away again. Smart woman. I took a bite, barely tasting it. The syrup was too sweet, the butter too thick, or maybe nothing tasted right anymore. Then the diner door chimed. I didn't look up until I heard my name. "Tobias?" My stomach dropped. Meredith stood near the entrance, arms crossed tight over her chest. Her hair was messy, like she'd rushed out. Her expression, somewhere between frustration and desperation. For a second, neither of us spoke. The whole diner seemed to hold its breath. "How did you find me?" I finally asked. She took a hesitant step forward. "You always drive when you're upset. Figured you'd end up somewhere quiet." A glance around. Didn't expect a diner, though. I didn't offer anything else. She sighed, shifting her weight like she was deciding how to start. "You disappeared, Tobias. I woke up and you were just—" "I walked away," I corrected evenly, then gestured to the empty seat across from me. "Since you're here, go ahead, explain." She hesitated, like she hadn't actually expected me to let her talk, but sat down, folded her hands on the table, looked nervous. That was new. "I didn't mean for you to hear that," she admitted. "I was just venting." I scoffed. "Venting. Yes." She leaned forward slightly. "Tobias, every couple has rough patches. Sometimes we say things we don't—" "How long has our rough patch been going on?" I interrupted. Her lips parted, hesitated. I nodded. The answer was clear. "You said you haven't loved me in years, Meredith. That's not a rough patch. That's not something you say in frustration. That's the truth." Her eyes darted away. Guilt flashed across her face. "All this time," I continued, voice low, "you've just been—" "What? Waiting for me to leave first? For an excuse?" "No," she said quickly. "I wasn't waiting. I just—" She rubbed her temples. "I didn't know how to bring it up. Bring up the fact you don't love me anymore." My laugh was hollow. "So instead you let me keep trying. Let me believe." She winced. "I didn't mean for it to be like this." The waitress chose that moment to drop off my pancakes, eyes flicking between us before wisely retreating. The silence was suffocating. "So what now?" Meredith finally asked. I took a slow bite. Let her sweat. Then, "I don't know yet," I admitted. "But I'm not going to be your comfortable option anymore." Her face paled. For the first time since hearing those words, I finally felt in control. Meredith sat frozen across from me. I knew her too well. She was scrambling. This wasn't how she'd expected this to go. She probably thought I'd beg, cry, fight for us, but I just kept eating my damn pancakes. She opened her mouth, closed it, reached for a sugar packet instead, fidgeting with it, avoiding my eyes. After 10 years, I could read her tells. The lip bite when lying, the finger taps when holding back. I used to love those little things. Now I hated how well I still knew her. I'm not proud of what I said, she finally admitted, but you have to understand, I wasn't trying to hurt you. Another bite, chewed slowly. So what were you trying to do? She shifted in her seat. I don't know. I guess I felt stuck, like I woke up one day and realized I wasn't the same person I was when we got married. A sharp exhale. And I know that's not fair to you. I should have talked to you about it. But Tobias, her voice turned accusing. You've never been good at seeing the signs. You always assume everything's fine. I set my fork down, leaned forward. Because you let me think it was. She flinched but didn't argue. Let me ask you something, I said quietly. If I hadn't overheard you, would you have ever told me? She looked away. That was all the answer I needed. I clenched my jaw, feeling my stomach twist. 10 years married to a woman perfectly content living a lie. Who stayed not out of love, but because leaving was harder. The worst part? I still didn't know if she would have ever left on her own, or if we'd both just rot in that house, year after year, until it was too late for either of us to change anything. I don't know what you want me to say, she muttered, rubbing her temples. That's the problem, Meredith. I leaned back in the creaking diner chair. You never do. Silence. The jukebox in the corner crackled through some old song. Then she did something unexpected, reached across the table and placed her hand over mine. I looked up. For the first time since this started, I saw real fear in her eyes. I don't want to lose you, she whispered. I blinked. Of all the things I expected her to say, I pulled my hand back. You don't want to lose me, but you don't love me. He swallowed hard. I don't know if what we have is love anymore, but I don't want it to end like this. A humorless laugh escaped me. You don't want it to end because it's messy, because it's uncomfortable, not because you actually want me. She didn't deny it. That was the final nail. I exhaled slowly, pushing my plate away. I don't know what's worse, I admitted. The fact you don't love me anymore, or the fact you would have let me keep loving you anyway. Her eyes glistened, but I felt nothing. I tossed cash on the table and stood. Tobias, we're done. I walked out into the morning light, the diner door swinging shut behind me with finality. For the first time in 10 years, the future was wide open,